Now to a story that should have parents right across the country outraged. At the moment, Australia is one of the most liberal countries in the world in sanctioning kids under 19 to get double mastectomies. And while the practice is relatively rare compared to the number of people in our population, there has been an increase despite there being only a few surgeons who are willing to perform the procedure. Just recently, a 15-year-old who only identified as transgender for a year underwent this major and irreversible surgery, prompting Mark Ashton, a plastic surgery specialist elected to the Council of the Royal Australian College of Surgeons, and several other leading medical professionals to question the lack of regulation in this field. Joining us to discuss this is journalist for Gender Clinic News, Bernard Lane. Bernard, welcome to the program. Now, teenagers can't drink, they can't smoke, can't serve in the armed forces, they can't get a tattoo, they can't vote and they can't drive a car. Why on earth can they get double mastectomies, particularly when those are otherwise healthy tissues?
Yes, Amanda, it's a pretty strange state of affairs. The reason for it is the spectre of suicide. There's been this narrative that is promoted widely by activists and gender clinicians that it's a simple choice between transition or suicide. Do you want a dead daughter or a live son? Parents otherwise would be much more hesitant about going along with a double mastectomy, as you say, perfectly healthy breast tissue which is being removed. There isn't good evidence of enduring mental health benefits following this surgery. An Australian psychiatrist, Alison Clayton, recently wrote a paper about this, and she concluded the evidence base for it is so poor that it is experimental.
The evidence of poor mental health persisting post drastic surgery like this is quite substantial. How does Australia compare with the rest of the world when it comes to offering surgeries like this for what are ultimately children?
Yeah, Australia is more liberal than the UK, for example. Probably many people will recall the case of Kira Bell, the detransitioner from the Tavistock clinic. She couldn't have her surgery under 18. In Australia, we don't have any good figures, but there are at least tens, I think, of girls under 18 having mastectomies. And there's at least, I know of 3 or 4 cases of 15-year-olds.
Bernard, double mastectomies for children are being performed under the same Medicare item number as the surgery that's needed for people who are enduring cancer. Does that mean that the taxpayer is subsidising these surgeries?
I saw that reported in the Australian today, and I'm unsure about it, Amanda, because we do see online lots of young people running crowdfunding appeals, which suggests to me that there's a pretty large out-of-pocket payment. The extent to which this is being subsidised is certainly worth looking into, because there's a real question about whether or not it can be justified as evidence-based medicine.
And yet I recall when in Parliament being approached by women who had had mastectomies because of breast cancer, finding themselves unable to get their health fund to cover a reconstruction to restore them to wholeness. It's a mad state of affairs. Bernard, you've been quite outspoken about these issues. Have you faced backlash for speaking out publicly on an issue that really should be a matter of common sense?
I have, and I don't think that's any surprise. This is a very toxic area, and I think most Australians they're simply not aware that these mastectomies are being done on girls under 18. And one reason for that is that people who raise criticisms or concerns about gender clinics face all sorts of attacks on their reputation, attempts to silence them. We have a press council, for example, which signed up to an activist, ideological and unscientific reporting guide for reporting of trans issues that makes accurate and honest reporting more difficult. But I'm also, quite pleased to see that there's a number of other journalists now picking up this area of reporting, including Natasha Robinson at The Australian. We're talking about her story on surgery. Also Cindy Lever at the Daily Mail, and there's also Julie Schwago, who was reporting at The Age. So despite the risks, there's an increasing number of journalists looking into gender clinic medicine to try to work out what are the risks, what's the harm, what's the evidence base.
Well, it is a testament to you that you're not afraid to speak what you believe to be true, even in the face of those difficulties. Bernard Lane, thank you very much for your time.